Yeah, I think gut health and hormone health, it's circular in nature. You are a woman who has dysbiosis, and you had dysbiosis in your 20s and 30s, and then you throw on BHRT on top of it, you're not going to get good results.
Exactly.
They're going to be suboptimal. If you find yourself in a place where you've got great gut health, but now you don't have the hormones on board that you need, I feel like I love talking about filling those receptors. I always think of it as like the lock and key.
Yeah.
You have to have the lock and key, and it has to be the right lock for the right key. Then you are going to start experiencing gut health issues. You have to be able to address both of them. I say simultaneously. I've heard some practitioners say, oh, you have to do one before the other. I actually think addressing it together has been the best for me.
Hi, I'm Missy Macholka, the Menopause Midwife. I'm here to break down all the things about menopause and hormones that seem overly complicated, which is pretty much everything. With over 10 years of experience catching babies and 2 decades of intuitive massage therapy practice, I have spent the last few years deep diving into all things menopause to figure out why so many women are suffering and why there seems to be so much confusion about hormones and menopause. Calling on my midwifery experience and my desire to help women attain and maintain full autonomy, I will stay next to you during this life transition and help to explain the options as you step into your power and find optimal health.
Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to the show. I am so glad you're here today. We've been talking about the gut a lot lately, and I hope you're feeling confident about the information that you've already gotten. But if you are more confused than ever, just hang on. I think my guest today can help us out of the chaos and some of the weeds that are gut confusion. So probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics, butyrate, GLP-1, mucin layer, oh my. If you've been wondering how to get your gut back on track, or you're hearing all the buzz about these words and thinking, wait, what even is that? You're in the right place today, because today's guest is someone I've been looking forward to having on. This is Shay Pausa, the co-founder and COO of Healthy Gut, which is based in beautiful Boulder, Colorado. If you have never been there, you should make a trip because it is a gorgeous place. And just a quick shameless plug for Healthy Gut before I introduce Shay. I have been carrying their products for years, even before Shay came on board. Check out the digestion podcast I did on April 28th, 2025, where I discuss Healthy Gut's Holozyme in particular. We are going to talk about it today also, but I do kind of a deep dive on that and Quicksilver Scientific's Butyrate-X, which are 2 of my very favorite products ever. This company, Healthy Gut, is the real deal. They only make a handful of products. And actually, before the show, Shay and I were actually talking about how she has to help pump the brakes on how many products come out every year because they are so careful in how they produce things. And their products work. They are not junk. They actually work. And that's what I really love about it. The Healthy Gut team is so passionate about educating and supporting the professionals like me that sell their products, that they care about your gut and that you learn how to use these products so that they work for you. They're not just wanting to sell it to you. They want it to actually work. And I love that about this company. So today we're diving into how your gut actually works, where it's housed in your body, and how it changes as we age. And so I'm talking to you, peri and menopausal women, and menopausal men, because you have guts too, and your hormones shift as well. So we'll also discover what you can do to support your gut in practical, doable ways. So this conversation is equal parts science, although Shay and I may not get too sciencey today. I think we're going to be pretty practical with strategy and support. And if you're a woman navigating midlife, or you just want better digestion, energy, clarity, then this one's for you. But before we start peppering Shay with questions, let me tell you a little more about her. She is the co-founder and COO of Healthy Gut, like we said before. It is a premium gut health brand focused on real results, not gut fads, right? Not fads. They have real products that work. Her background is remarkable. She's worked in healthcare technology, spent years reporting on women's health on YouTube and in publications. Her mission, it's helping women become the CEO of their own well-being. well-being. She is preaching to the choir here. She's a passionate advocate for smart, empowered decision-making, especially during the twists and turns of midlife. And here's what makes Shay truly inspiring. She is a 3-time cancer survivor, showing up with fierce clarity and compassion. Her life's work now centers on helping women make informed decisions and lead healthier, fuller lives for themselves. She's always ready to take on BHRT and breast cancer. That conversation is important. And we have already talked about having another conversation where we talk about bioidentical hormone replacement and breast cancer, shifting compounding policies, and how women can take charge of their health in an increasingly complex system. Oh, and she's a huge fan of being real about what works, like Butyrate and Holozyme, and why your gut health is central to everything. So before I forget, please remember, none of this is medical advice. You are smart people. Educate yourself, ask questions, and make your own decisions for your body. Shay, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for that lovely introduction. It's nice
You're
to hear.
welcome. You are at home here with your mission of empowering women to be in charge of their own well-being, because that is my mission in life, is to always empower women with information so that they can make the right decisions for their bodies, because everybody is so different. Can you tell us how your life journey so far has led you in this mission?
I think my health journey began before I was conscious of health. I was raised by a mom who was mostly concerned about weight. That was like her driving force. But that drove her to recognize and to get involved with a lot of fads, I won't lie. Mom who said no processed foods, no sugary drinks, no candy in the house. Like she was a big believer in those things. And she struggled with her health, and I watched that. But she was also a woman of a different time. She was a woman of a time that the white coat syndrome was really prevalent. So what the doctor said is what she had to do. And yet she wasn't finding help. And so from a very young age, I saw my mom struggle with her health and struggle finding the right thing and trying every fad. She did Atkins. She, was in her leotard. Was jumping around to Jane Fonda at home, all of those things. And so I think watching that, I became very conscious of there's something here to learn, and a little bit, I would say, of skepticism of healthcare because I saw her struggle so much. So I didn't know at the time that I was having health issues, but growing up in a household where I think we were exposed to a lot of toxins, very early on, I was experiencing health issues. I just didn't know it. So I had a ton of allergies. I was very sensitive to foods. I had this weird annual rash that I got. And I was a super type A personality from a really young age, trying to deal with some trauma that I grew up around. So my health issues were starting to come up at a very early age. I just didn't recognize them. And I didn't necessarily know how to get help other than, I guess, what the doctor was going to tell you. But I had skepticism, and a really healthy one. And also, you mentioned I grew up in healthcare technology. And what makes that interesting is that I, didn't know that I was going to be learning anything about how it related to actual care, because technology, what's that have to do with it? Well, I worked for a company, one of the biggest at the time, that was selling technology to the pharmaceutical industry, was selling technology to the pharmacy system industry, and to doctors and hospitals. And so I quickly learned they're just all building these systems for profit, not for care. And so that was very obvious to me early on. And none of it was in the hands of the people who I thought made the real decisions. And to me, that was Dr. Mom, because women are driving most healthcare decisions in their families for their aged parents, their children, and their spouse or partner. I thought, why aren't we giving that information that we have? Again, we were selling data back and forth between these different entities, and realizing we're not giving healthcare data to the people who matter most, and that was the consumer. So that just became something that really, and I don't feel like my life's work is even close to being done in that area, because I still think there's so much more that we can give to women to drive these decisions.
Absolutely. I think we've just touched the tip of the iceberg. And I think that in a way, COVID gave us the gift of telemedicine so that we could see whoever we wanted to see, wherever we wanted to see them. And then I remember a time where I wanted certain labs drawn, and I was told, no, you don't need those. And then I was like, but I really think I need them. I'll just pay for them. I don't mind. No, you don't really need those. I finally got them and they would not send me the labs. I wanted to look at them before I went into the doctor because I wanted to have my questions all set. And they would not give me my results. And I thought that was crazy. I was like, this is my body. It's my blood. I need the results. So that resonates with me so much, is just putting the power back into people's hands and helping them understand complex things that relate to their bodies. Because we don't all need a medical degree to understand our bodies, but we do need some basic information. And I love that Shay is doing that with Healthy Gut and just in her life, sharing with people. So I can't wait to see what we share today. So talking about making things a little more understandable, I think it was like 10 or 15 years ago that I started hearing the rumblings that were like, some of your immune system is in your gut. And we were all like, what? It's like a thing. It's somewhere. What does that even mean? I know we don't want to get super sciencey today, but like, do we know now? Do you have some inkling of how much of the immune system is in the gut? Kind of what does that look like now?
Yeah, I mean, 70 to 80% of the immune system is in the gut and their interactions that happens in the gut. So the gut lining is training our immune system. It's teaching it to distinguish between friends and foe. So think pathogens and things that are not good for us. And a healthy gut lining really promotes tolerance, reduces inflammation, and reduces autoimmunity risk. And I think it shifts in midlife. So I think people now have heard enough of like, oh, there's a microbiome. And that's a thing. And what that microbiome is, it's the bacteria, the viruses, the fungi that live in and on our bodies, and especially the gut. And so a healthy microbiome is one that is balanced. It flourishes. It helps us digest our food. It helps us absorb our nutrients and protects us against illness. So yes, it's there. It's important. I think we still know only a fraction, though, of what we're going to learn over the next 20 or 30 years. And I think in midlife, we're now also hearing the term the estrobiome, right? Which is the part of our microbiome that is breaking down and regulating and balancing estrogen. And that is super important in midlife and beyond. So just, yeah, as a high level, like we know that it's important. I think we're still learning, but there are very simple, actionable things that we can do to improve our health through our gut.
And what are some of those? Let's just jump right into those.
Everyone hears diet, and of course, diet is important. The basics are all true. Sugar, alcohol, toxins, like we want processed foods, like we want to avoid those things and eat a rainbow. Eat what is fresh, organic, again, things that minimize toxins in our body. Those are the simple ones. But the ones that I think are not really, really addressed enough, we hear it, but it's kind of lip service, is how much stress to our body and actually caring for ourselves in a way that we're allowing us to rest and digest. We're just busy, right? Like it happens. Women, it's so easy for us to take care of everybody else first and be super, super busy. And yet, if we are not taking care of ourselves, it's the old oxygen mask thing that we've been saying for 25, 30 years, like put the oxygen mask on yourself first. If we are not doing that, it puts a stressor on our body that we can't underestimate. Our nervous system goes into hyperactivity. And our nervous system and our gut together, it can dictate everything. I tell people when it comes to health, because cancer comes up often where I'm related, there's no one cause. It's a perfect storm. And I believe that the catalyst for me, or the tipping point, has been unprocessed trauma and allowing myself to live through a state of chronic stress for way too long. I think stress reduction, don't underestimate that 5 seconds of deep breaths. Don't underestimate going out in the sunshine and just doing nothing. That is so important. And for whatever reason, we still think we have to earn that or deserve it. We don't. Yeah.
And I think a lot of women think, especially when they have littles, they think, oh, well, I don't have time for, an hour bubble bath. That's not what anybody's talking about. We're talking about those little snacks of time that you can take for yourself to bring that nervous system down into a state of regulation. And that might be taking your 3 and 5-year-old for a stroll around the block and just breathe while you do that. There are just so many things. And I always talk about, along with self-care comes the ability to exercise and get a bead of sweat every day. I always say, you got to get your bead of sweat every day. It literally takes 7 minutes or less to get a bead of sweat. And so I always tell women, don't go in to the gym and spend an hour. Go in, get your bead of sweat, and leave. It's okay because you need to, but if you can do that every single day or do your run around the block or do your exercises in your living room with your kids around you, just every day. And then that way, because you're also breathing and you're also bringing that body into that parasympathetic space that we really want it in so that we can rest and digest because we have that gut brain access and that is all pushed through with lymph and with breathing, and we want to breathe heavy and then we want to breathe slowly. I don't know why I'm going down this rabbit hole, but I am right now. But
because it's huge. I mean, people get so into the diets. So like what you're eating and are you avoiding every seed oil? And I'm like, all good. But if you're not moving, you're not breathing, you're not relaxing, won't be the thing. It won't be
Right.
the thing. It can be powerful, but it's not the only thing.
Right. And the laundry will always be there. That's like there is no day where there's not the pile of laundry on the couch. And so you are more important than that pile of laundry on the couch. And you will do better if you take care of you in this process. And I can't state that enough. I have teenagers now, so I get a lot of time to do those things for myself, but I didn't get it when they were little. And it hurts my heart that I didn't take that time because I think I would have also been a better mom. I mean, I was a good mom, but I think I could have been an even more connected mom because I would have been here. I wouldn't have been doing the laundry, doing the dishes, I would have still gotten those done, but I would have done them in a different state of mind and body.
Yeah. I mean, the littles, they require your presence. I mean, that's what slows us down. That's what puts us in the moment to take those deep breaths. And really, I mean, I'm sure my kids are grown as well. And I think back of the moments that are most meaningful are the ones where I was going slow with.
Yeah, they're fleeting. All the cliches are right. It's just so true.
It is.
So I digress and I went all down these rabbit holes, but I think the listeners are used to that with me. But I love going there with you, Shay, because it's just, I think our ladies, our moms, especially of those littles, they need as much support as they can get and encouragement to just take that time. But what can they do? What can we do to support our gut health? Like we talk about that gut lining. How do we support that? Where did things like butyrate come into the mix there?
Like all things are decreasing as we age. So our stomach acid decreases. So it means we're not breaking down proteins as well. Our enzyme production is decreasing. So we're not breaking down any of those things as well. And then this butyrate that, is something we talk about a lot is this short chain fatty acid, which I was like, I don't know what that means. What is a short chain fatty acid? Well, it's actually produced by good gut bacteria during fiber fermentation. So, and it's essential for our gut health, our immunity, and our energy levels. So if those things aren't happening, we're not breaking down our food, then our body's being in a reactive state and it's not getting the nutrients that it looks for. So I think you already talk about it so much. And I love how you talk about, by supplementing with enzymes, how that breaks down your food better. I know women right now are hearing protein, right? Like it's if you go on social media for 5 minutes and you're over the age of 45, you're going to be told you need all these grams of protein. So are you doing that at all?
I do ascribe to 1 gram of protein per ideal pound of body weight with the caveat that we are optimizing our hormones, we are moving our bodies every day and getting our sweat, and we are getting our exogenous enzymes on board. And I don't want people just eating like a bunch of bacon or something like that. We're doing it in a clean fashion. So yeah.
I tell women it's not how much you eat, it's how much you absorb. So important. If you are one of these people that is trying to increase your protein, I know when I tried to get to the full gram, my immediate reaction was just a feeling of fullness. It felt heavy, right? Because I needed more HCl and time to break that down. So I think breaking that down is super important. It also, like you said, it matters how much you're moving. leading a sedentary lifestyle and you just bring aboard a lot of protein, that's not going to be good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So from very, very practical standpoint, I look at perimenopause and menopause as there are these symptoms that come with it. And how do you counterbalance those things and support your body so that it can handle these changes? Because really it's kind of a reverse adolescence, right? Like it's and the crazy fluctuations that we had as teenagers, we're now having in midlife.
Every morning starts with my coffee, or as my family calls it, my secret sludge. It's my way of stacking the odds in my favor before the day even begins. One of the key ingredients, perfect amino powder by Body Health. It has 8 essential amino acids in the exact ratio your body needs to repair muscle, support healthy hormones, speed up recovery, and keep your energy steady. Here's the kicker. It's 99% absorbable in about 30 minutes, so your body can actually use the protein in it. It uses the amino acids to create protein. So for me, that means I'm supporting my muscles, joints, metabolism, and even mental clarity all before I have breakfast. Here's a pro tip. Add it to your coffee with your MCT oil and blend for a super yummy coffee. I will tell you, perfect aminos or aminos of any sort do have a strong taste, but I'm going to tell you, Perfect Aminos has done a really great job of making them taste great. So it might take a tiny bit of getting used to, but they are amazing. So find the mix that works for you. You can grab these from me at ohm406.com, right on my website. Just search Perfect Aminos, and then you can choose whatever flavor and size you want. Also want to say, this is not a sponsored ad. I just do ads for the things that I love, and I hope that you appreciate them too. Have a beautiful day and be well.
Did you ever hear Suzanne Summers talk about the 7 dwarfs of menopause?
Oh, yes. I love that.
Such a great one. And I think they're all true for women. So it was like itchy, bitchy, sleepy, sweaty, bloated, forgetful, and all dried up. And what I think is interesting is that in that very short, those 7 things, all of those things are addressable, which I love that we can address them with this sort of holistic everyday approach. So if I look at, what is happening to us? Why do we get itchy and all dried up? Well, the loss of decreases of estrogen are drying out our mucosal layers. So that happens your esophagus, that happens in the gut, that's happening in your vagina, it's happening in your brain. It's happening everywhere. And so ways to supplement those things are very, very helpful. The other thing that's happening in our brain, that's why we have hot flashes. I mean, that's why women become forgetful and we start looking at objects going, I don't remember what that's called. They're all things that need to be supported. And again, I don't think it is easy, but it is simple, right? Like there's multiple things that we have to address, but they aren't overly complicated.
Right.
And that's what's so important that we have to remember.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, what are some of the easier ways to address these mucosal areas, the brain, just how are we supporting our hormones? I just always want to make it really clear. If you are in perimenopause or menopause and you're not replacing your hormones on some level, which I'm not saying everybody has to. Everybody has their own journey. I am all about radical autonomy for your body, but I'm also about radical knowledge. I want you to understand that we do not have an herb deficiency when we hit perimenopause and menopause. We have a true hormone deficiency when we're going into those stages. So if we just throw, let's say, an enzyme at ourselves with some herbs, we probably aren't going to get the same kind of results as if we are adding in bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, either at normal doses or even super physiological doses. We're going to get better results when we have those hormones filled up, because even the digestive enzymes and the butyrate, they cannot fill up the receptors. Remember, if you come into my office, you see me do this with my hands. This is the estrogen receptor. This is the estrogen. We need to fill those receptors. And the enzymes and the butyrate cannot fill those receptors for us because that's not where they go, but they do go other places. The butyrate does go to different receptors, and the Holozyme works like a blender on all that food that we're eating. So all that protein we're trying to get in, that does help us with that. But we need the whole picture.
Yeah, I think gut health and hormone health, it's circular in nature. You are a woman who has dysbiosis, and you had dysbiosis in your 20s and 30s, and then you throw on BHRT on top of it, you're not going to get good results.
Exactly.
They're going to be suboptimal. If
Mhm.
you find yourself in a place where you've got great gut health, but now you don't have the hormones on board that you need, I feel like I love talking about filling those receptors. I always think of it as like the lock and key.
Yeah.
It you have to have the lock and key, and it has to be the right lock for the right key. Then you are going to start experiencing gut health issues. You have to be able to address both of them. I say simultaneously. I've heard some practitioners say, oh, you have to do one before the other. I actually think addressing it together has been the best for me.
I am so with you on that because I know there are a lot of practitioners who do what I do, which is hormone consulting and hormone specialty and whatnot. And they're like, you have to detox before you can do hormones. Women who are out of hormones do not have the bandwidth to detox. And so the best way for us, in my opinion and my experience, is that we support the woman from two sides. So when I have somebody come to me and we talk about hormones, we're also talking about their digestion. I want to know what is happening in their gut so that I can support that as we bring the hormones along. And then once they feel a little bit better, and if they want to do a detox, great, we can do that. But oftentimes they don't even need one because we end up throwing in the Holozyme, the butyrate, the bitters, whatever their body needs. We throw that in so that they are adjusting and using their hormones properly. But a 2-week cleanse for some women is like, they're never going to do it because they feel so bad.
And it's so hard when everyone has different symptoms that they might be experiencing, but whether fatigue, brain fog, just not feeling yourself anymore. The number of women that I talk to that just say, I don't feel like me anymore. I've lost my motivation in life. To ask them to do a really hardcore detox or to go through more pain, that's a lot to ask. Let's be supportive so that they can handle those things.
I love it. So we know that like digestive enzymes, they're kind of like the lowest hanging fruit when we're talking about digestion, gut, and whatnot. Because everybody is like had a papaya enzyme at some point or something that helps us digest. People know about Tums, that is totally the kind of the opposite end of that. But I just want to climb higher into the tree of digestion and talk about butyrate a little deeper. Like, why is it everywhere right now? Why are people talking about it? We're hearing this word. It's hard to spell. It's weird to say. But like, what exactly does it do? And how does healthy gut help support that?
So butyrate, again, it's naturally produced in your body. And if you don't have a great microbiome, which means the good bacteria, then you're probably low in butyrate. What does butyrate do? Well, it heals the gut lining. It reduces inflammation and it fuels the colon cells, which in turn boosts our metabolism and our energy levels. So it has like all these amazing things that it's doing at once. But like real life, what we see happen with people who use Tributyrin-X, our biome builder, is people who have struggled with gut health for a long time have these like huge breakthroughs because it's addressing so many things simultaneously. We've heard people who have been to a place where they're down to eating 5 foods, which doesn't feel like living to me. I am too much of a foodie. Like the idea that I'm down to, I can eat these 5 bland things to get through my day. It seems like a horrible way to live. So Stephen and I have a little bit of a mission. Like we want people to enjoy food again because it's part of society and social connection. So what butyrate is doing is all of these things simultaneously, which is why it's so hard to describe and why it's so hard to sell, quite frankly, because we can't just say it does everything. It's this silver bullet. It's not. But it is so supportive to the body and addresses all these various layers of the gut that people start experiencing life again. They start saying that they can enjoy multiple foods. So with butyrate, it is allowing people to actually expand what they can enjoy. But for like chronic diarrhea, they're low in butyrate.
Mm-hmm.
We can get someone 2 to 3 Tributyrin-X, and this could be chemo-induced diarrhea even, and get them to a place where they have formed bowel movements. We had a woman who wrote in that said she hadn't had a formed bowel movement in more than a decade and used Tributyrin-X over the course of a week and was having perfect poops. So, we talk shit a lot at Healthy Gut. And it's like something we're extremely happy about. But also on the other side of it, people who tend towards constipation also are low on butyrate. but you have to deliver it differently so that we can get them to a place where their butyrate levels are normal. And they too, after a kind of a low and slow titration of the product, will start experiencing perfect poops. And perfect poops mean you're in the bathroom for less than 4 minutes. It is perfectly formed. It's not hard. You're not uncomfortable and you feel like there's been a full evacuation. So you actually are like, oh, I feel light and, light and bright, so to speak. Tributyrin is just all of those things. What I think is happening in the market right now is that now there's a lot of butyrate. People are hearing about it, but it is important the purity and how it's delivered because most butyrates that are out there in capsule form, they're going to get basically broken down by the stomach acid before it ever gets to the small intestines and the other parts of the body that you want it. So we are pretty proud of the fact that ours is the only one that is in an enteric coated capsule that is actually not going to break down. It's gastro resistant. It's going to get to the places you needed to get to, and you're going to have a really good experience with it.
There is no other product like this out there. I haven't looked very hard because I have loved this product for so long. It's so phenomenal. I have people who took it when I first started carrying it. And one in particular is my 73-year-old mom. Hi, Mom. And she's so cute. She says, I don't know what that does, but I am never going to stop taking it. And she just knows she feels better on it. And she is fully on her hormones and everything like that. But that she will not go without her butyrate, her Tributyrin-X. Or now it's called the Biome Builder. She loves it. And she's one of the healthiest people I know. She's not one of the healthiest 73-year-olds I know. She's one of the healthiest people I know. And I just wanted to touch really quick, Shay, on you were talking about healthy poops. When you come to see me, I always ask about your poop because when we are pooping well, which means, like you said, a fully formed poop that we're not having to force out, but also not diarrhea. When we're having those good poops, we know that we are metabolizing our hormones well because we want hormones to come into our bodies. We want them to get used in our little receptors, and then we want to poop them out. There's a natural cycle to hormones. And so we want to support that with good, healthy poops. So you're supporting your hormone metabolism when you're supporting your gut. And one way I feel like you guys maybe in one of your education series had explained gut lining and tributyrin to me was maybe like picket fences and how if a picket is missing in your fence, like if your gut is like a picket fence and you take out a picket, things can squeak through there and cause issues and inflammation and not good digestion. So what tributyrin does is it comes through and it fills in that picket fence. And so it fills in all those holes, those gaps, and it makes it solid so that tube is really a tube. It's not just a big perforated mess.
Yeah, butyrate, we use all kinds of analogies to try to explain it. People are hearing now about leaky gut. And, everybody used to think it was just about tight junctures, and that is true. But there are also these layers of what the oxygen level is as well. And so you have to have this sealed system, if you will, for all of those functions to happen appropriately, where you're getting, again, optimal health. So I love the picket fence analogy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun to have something to think about as we're learning about these things that we can't see, but we sure feel. And as we're kind of talking about butyrate, I know that there has been some conversation that I've heard around about butyrate and GLP-1s. What do you know? Tell us everything.
So I am not a GLP-1 expert, but here's what I do know. I think it's, again, one of those things that we're going to learn more and more about and see value. So, these people talking about microdosing GLP-1s, I think is pretty amazing. But here's what we do know. GLP-1s can reduce our muscle mass. So that's important to understand. But butyrate alone stimulates GLP-1 production in our bodies naturally. So that's hugely important. And what does GLP-1 even do? Because I think that's like the first thing you have to understand. This, again, not a silver bullet, but what it's doing is it's supporting our insulin sensitivity and our blood sugar regulation. And we already knew for a long time that if you got your blood sugar to better levels, that you would have better overall health. and longevity. We've known that for a long time. Increased blood sugar levels over the long haul is dangerous to our body in so many ways. So just having a butyrate on board will stimulate GLP-1 production naturally, which I think is amazing. What else that does, like real time, like experience of life, we experience better appetite control and a feeling of being satiated, which is great, right? Because if we're not always feeling like we need to eat, then that's good. So I think Tributyrin-X, we have not done any studies on that, but butyrate has been studied to show that it stimulates naturally GLP-1 production. And then going back to if you are either using something like an Ozempic or you're microdosing, it's really important, going back to what you were talking about, digestion, that we're breaking down and eating enough protein so that we don't lose any muscle mass.
Exactly. Which is why it seems like to me, if you're going to be on a GLP-1, whether microdosed or traditionally dosed, that you're going to have that Holozyme on board to break down that protein that you're eating, because you are going to be eating protein forward, because that's what you must do if you're on a GLP-1. And then you're also going to have that Tributyrin on board to just support that natural doses of GLP-1s in your body, so that as you come off of it, your natural production is stimulated and already on board. Is that kind of how you guys are seeing that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've played with that in our household as well.
Absolutely.
Like we test on ourselves. And I find that, I'm all about trying to build muscle as we age. And the use of Tributyrin-X with a GLP-1, when I stopped using it, I didn't lose any benefits. So that was really an important piece.
I've noticed the same thing too, because I've only microdosed with GLP-1s just because I want to know what they feel like. I want to play with them a little bit. I do use a lot of other peptides that are not the GLP-1s, but when I have used them with the tributyrate, I don't notice any response that is negative afterwards. I've maintained my muscle, if not grown it. And so sometimes it's nice. Sometimes you have to pulse it with that little bit of microdosing of GLP-1s. It's a nice kind of almost a crutch to kind of get you over a hump. And then sitting that butyrate back into the system, I think, is just your kind of easier way to support the system and coming off of off of the peptide exogenously. We are at such a fun time where we can play with all of these things and figure out what works for us and our bodies, because we have so much access to things right now.
Yes.
Boy, we are just zooming through our questions.
I shared with you before we started talking today that my husband's the scientist and he's the clinical one. And I am the person in the family that goes, well, that's all well and good, but what's it going to do for me? Like, how's it going to work for me? And we have a product that's a paraprobiotic, and I love the story behind it. So if I could share a little story time.
Absolutely, please do.
So it was the beginning of COVID. And Stephen every year goes to all the ingredients shows, and he is always looking at the latest scientific studies. And at the beginning of COVID, quite frankly, fear was just widespread, right? We didn't know what this thing was. We didn't know how bad it was going to get. So this was very early on in the pandemic. And I had been diagnosed with breast cancer the year before. So he was especially concerned, like, he didn't want me to get this thing, and was worried about his aging parents. And so my husband is not only a mad scientist, but he also has anxiety. So he would stay up at night and think about this and look at the research. And he decided that he wanted to have a product that had studies that showed it could handle upper respiratory infections, because we didn't know what the right studies were. And so he started looking at these paraprobiotics, which I don't know if you're familiar with paraprobiotics at this point.
A little bit, but could you explain it to us just in a nutshell?
Yes. In a nutshell, we know about probiotics. They're bugs, right? So those bugs, they have different strains. It can be live. It could be dead, which means it was live and then it died. And then there's something called paraprobiotics, which are heat killed at a certain moment. What's interesting about that is that the same strain, so same bug, at these different times act totally different in the body. So one that is live in your body will have a different mechanism of action than something that is heat killed. So he was looking at these strains, and he found 3 strains that had scientific backing that said they could handle upper respiratory infections through the gut. So he was like, okay, I'm going to prevent you from getting COVID. He also had another thing, which was he wanted me off of antihistamines, because as I mentioned earlier, I had allergies since I was a kid. So every year I took my antihistamines seasonally. And he was like, no wife of mine is going to be taking those. I'm going to get you off of those. So he put together these 3 heat-killed, licensed these ingredients because you have to get them from the actual manufacturer of these strains, and put them with beta-glucans. And he said, you guys aren't going to get COVID. The bad news is we all got COVID. Did not prevent COVID. Now, none of us died, so maybe it helped our immune system. But he wanted to have these strains that actually modulated the immune system, made your immune system smarter, not working harder. Because if it's stronger, that's where autoimmune comes out, right? It's an overreaction.
Mhm.
You want it to be smart and to respond appropriately. Good news is it got me completely off of seasonal allergies, but that's not why it's my favorite part. I started taking it, it was February. He said, start taking it in February. My mom had passed away, and I was playing these word games. That was my coping mechanism. It's a very safe and easy coping mechanism. And after taking HoloImmune for about a week, I started noticing my speeds were improving and my scores were going up. And I was like, what is happening exactly? Because I noticed something, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And so I was like, hey, babe, this thing is happening. And he said, which no husband should ever say to his wife, he said, I've always suspected you had neuroinflammation. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And he said, I think you have neuroinflammation. It could be because of perimenopause. That's possible. But I think this has been a thing for you. And I've always wanted to test it and bring it up, but I didn't know how. Anyway, I think that we're addressing neuroinflammation in your brain through the gut. And I said, what? I don't even understand how that works. But as I described it, I feel like I have my 20-year-old brain back. Anecdotally, I was like, hey, I want to test this. There's actually some neuroinflammation tests you can take. So I went off. It did show neuroinflammation, went back on, took it. Neuroinflammation had decreased. So I was like, there's something to this. Let's test this with our team. We have a lot of perimenopausal women on our team that complain of brain fog. So we asked them to start dosing it. And every single one of them said that it felt improved cognitive function, speed, which was super cool. And then we had one member of the team who had a traumatic brain injury and was experiencing tons of dizziness. And so we asked her to take 2 or 3 with each meal. And within 3 days, she said her dizziness resolved.
Wow.
So, yeah, just like this really cool thing. So not why it was created. I call it our Post-it note moment. I'm like, there's something here. Again, that gut reaction. But that is if the one thing on our I'm like, I will not do it without my HoloImmune ever.
That is amazing. And that's this one, people. I didn't show the other ones yet, but that's this one, HoloImmune, if you're watching. I am so glad to know all of those great things. I've carried HoloImmune for years, but wasn't exactly sure how to use it because I've not been to one of your educations about it. And now I feel like I've just been educated. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that story. That was awesome.
It's a fun thing. It's part of my perimenopause survival kit that we have.
Now I feel like I'm gonna add it into my daily stack because I just kept it around if we were like getting sick or whatever. But I'm gonna try it for a month straight and see how my brain feels because I love that. I love it when
Any girlfriend that is like, this is happening for me, I'm like, just try it. You'll know very quickly if and it could be other things that are causing, it may not be neuroinflammation, but I think it's definitely a tool to have in the medicine cabinet to give a try.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
The other one, do you have the experience that some women in perimenopause and menopause start, like they were able to enjoy a glass of wine and then suddenly not so much?
Absolutely. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the other part of my little perimenopause survival kit is a DAO product that we have called HistaHarmony. Just because you're having a histamine reaction, generally if you're feeling flushed or you're all of a sudden feeling like, I just can't drink wine anymore. Not saying that alcohol is ever good for you, but if you like to enjoy an occasional glass of wine still, you're all of a sudden not able to do that. The combination of Holozyme and the HistaHarmony DAO, I just say take the DAO. It's in a little blister pack. Have it with you in your purse if you're out with the girls. Take 2 before you have that first glass of wine, and you shouldn't have a histamine reaction.
I love it. I've been using Holozyme and berberine. If I ever, like even once a week, I like to have a little margarita. And it's not much, but I do enjoy it. And I don't want to have to not. I mean, I'm okay with not, but I don't know. Like you said, it's like there's this thing about just enjoying life and food and friends. And I don't need that to enjoy it, but it's fun to still be able to. And I think that we all need little hacks here and there so that we don't feel so, I don't know, just so much like things are being taken away from us that cause joy and or that we always have to have like something special or whatever. It's just really nice to be
Yeah.
able to have that option. Let's talk about something no one warned us about. Vaginal dryness. It's common, it's uncomfortable, and honestly, it can make you feel like not yourself. That's why I love Julva Pro. It's clean, it's a DHEA product that supports healthy, resilient vaginal tissues. It was developed by obstetrician gynecologist Dr. Anna Kabeka. She is also a hormone champion for women. It's backed by real science, not just hype. I've seen firsthand how much it can help with dryness, irritation, and even intimacy. And yes, I use this product myself. This is not a sponsored ad. This is just something that I want you to know about because it works. If you've been feeling off down there, this might be your missing link. Give it a try. You can grab it directly from me at ohm406.com. You cannot buy it on Amazon. You have to buy it from a hormone professional like myself. So even if you don't get it from me, please get it somewhere. I do have it on my website. I always have it in stock. It's ohm406.com. Trust me, your vulva will thank you. So I think we have filled people with so much information. One of the things I want to do though before we slide into our rapid fire, can you talk to us just briefly about dosing the Tributyrin, the Biome Builder product? What are your favorite ways to dose that and when?
Again, depends on if you tend towards constipation or not. So if you tend towards constipation, I mean 10, like, it only happens sometimes, but if you're going to be that way more than diarrhea, you have to go low, slow. There are dietary supplements of the world that you could take 1 or 10 and you probably won't notice a difference. Tributyrin-X is not that product. You will notice something very early. So if you tend towards constipation, you're going to take 1 every 3 days. You're going to go really slow. And you're going to do that while you're increasing your fiber and drinking your water and making sure that everything is still moving at least as normal. After about a week of that, you're going to go once every 2 days. And again, you're just going to get to the place and maybe that's 3 days for you, maybe that's a week where again, you're not having any negative reactions. Then you want to get to a place where you're having 1 a day. And ideally, you want to get dosed where you're doing 2 a day. That's kind of the sweet spot where people say they have perfect poops. If you tend towards diarrhea, though, I want you to go ahead and load up like 2 with each meal, low down the motility, and you need to build that butyrate quickly to do that. For someone who doesn't have, is normal pooper, you don't have any issues around that. Again, I always try with 1 a day to start, getting to where you're doing 1 to 3 a day, usually with meals.
I had been for the people who take 1 a day and have normal poopers, quote unquote, just 1 a day at night. Actually, because I always think about that with probiotics too. And I don't know, let me know if this thinking isn't quite right, but just that exposure, because our motility is slowed down at night, just having that exposure to the gut a little bit longer. I don't know if that makes any difference, but does that seem like an okay thing?
Absolutely okay. And you'll get another side benefit. And we do not know why this is happening. But if you take Tributyrin-X at night, deep sleep numbers will go up on your tracker.
Oh,
Yeah.
very good to know.
I can't explain that scientifically. We just know anecdotally that it's happening because
Okay.
where it's tested, we can show that. So for some people, for like Steven, he takes Tributyrin-X with meals and he takes 1 before bed.
Yeah, and I don't track my sleep, so I don't know, but I do take it at just 1 at night too, but I sleep like a baby, so I don't know. I know I shouldn't say that on this podcast because I have a lot of women who don't sleep well, and I'm sorry, that is my one superpower in this world, that I sleep. I don't know. It was a blessing. I don't know how I got it. I did not deserve it, but I got it. And I thank God because I would not function. I don't know how you people do it who can't sleep, but I am here for you. And maybe we can get some Tributyrin on board for you.
Yeah.
Let's move to Holozyme. This is a big, beautiful bottle of digestion right here. I literally do not go anywhere without this. It is in my purse at all times. I have these little tiny Ziploc baggies and it's always with me. So whenever I eat out, every single time, because I don't know what's in that food, Holozyme is on board.
Right. Well, here's another thing about
Right.
Holozyme is so there was a French study that was done that showed that women in midlife, again, as our estrogen decreases, the amount of minerals that we maintain, it actually starts coming through our urine, which is another thing that is important to understand that our digestive enzymes, in order to be fully activated and to work, and this is not only the ones you produce yourself, but also endogenously, it has to have a mineral cofactor in order to work. So that's how the product actually was developed, is that Stephen in clinical practice was very frustrated with the fact that, in functional medicine, every functional medicine doctor uses enzymes. It's like one of the first things they add to your thing. And he would be like, oh, this brand is great. And it would work for a while and not work, or it would work for some people and not other people. And he was getting very frustrated. Like, why is that? And so then he was like, well, I'll mix and match brands. Maybe it's that. Maybe I'll up the dosing. So again, he's my mad scientist. So he would try all these different things. And then he discovered a patent that said you had to have this mineral cofactor. And it was just like a light bulb hit for him. He was like, oh, so if you put the mineral cofactor directly in the capsule, so we licensed the patent, and that's how Holozyme came about. So not only in midlife are we losing these minerals faster, so we have to have additional minerals, but we put it right in the capsule itself. So it's going to break down your food more consistently.
That is brilliant. Yeah, because I've used it for, I don't know, even 8 years or something like that. And it still works every time. Yes,
So-
it's amazing. And there's like 180 in here. I just want people to know you're like, oh my gosh, $74, $75 for this bottle. But really, it does last you a long time. And I feel like you start, like when you first start it, you probably are going to take one before every meal, maybe two. Just get your body kind of ready for it. And then over time, you know which meals you're going to need it for. And that's when you just kind of put it on board. Like a bottle lasts me a really long time now because I know how to dose it for my body. But what do you guys say for your dosing for Holozyme?
You're absolutely right. It's so body dependent. So what's on the bottle is a legal requirement.
I know. Yeah.
We have something on the bottle. But I have seen 250-pound men that only need one a day. And I've seen 120-pound women that need 3 with each meal because their guts need such help and such support early on.
Right.
But as you've said, like I don't take it with every single meal because some meals I don't actually need it. But other meals I absolutely know I'm going to need 2 of them. Little extra help. And we literally keep these cute little glass jars on our table with our HCl and our Holozyme just right there so that it's like salt and pepper. We just keep it on the table. And then I'm going to send you some of these. We have these little 30 count bottles now to make it just easy in your bag.
Wonderful. That is awesome. I would love that. And the HCl thing, I know I touched on that a little bit in the intro, but at some point I do want to have that conversation because that is so hydrochloric acid for you who are following along and didn't know what that acronym was. I'm sorry if I get too acronym heavy. It is a complex process to learn how your HCl works and all of that. And I don't want to misstate it. And it's like a whole podcast worth. So we'll do that another time because Healthy Gut does have an incredible product. And then they have the process all figured out for you to figure out how much you need and how to figure that out. So we'll dive deep on that another time. But that is a really important piece to digestion too for a lot of people. And lastly, just while we're here with the HoloImmune, your favorite product, what do you like to do with dosing on this one?
So I just take that once a day in the morning. And that has just been perfect for me. That keeps me away from seasonal allergies. And, I haven't had to take any antihistamines since using that. And it keeps my brain sharp. So
awesome. Super easy.
Yeah, super easy. And then for, like you said, you can also have it on board. Like I'm told again by people who have kids, somebody comes home sick, they just up the dosage of that. And that could be with every meal just to make sure that their immune system is ready for whatever's about to come at them.
Good idea. Maybe just you start dosing in August before you head in back.
Exactly.
I feel like high school was like preschool all over again. We got all the colds and all the things. It was insane. Well, so let's dive into a quick rapid fire question and answer before we wrap up. What is your favorite gut friendly food?
So there is a company, anything from, it's called Olive My Pickle.
Oh,
They do these amazing fermented foods in like a small boutique sort of way, but everything is delicious. And they have this, it's a pomegranate fermented juice. It's like a pickle juice.
ooh, that
It's
sounds
so
yummy.
tasty. It's so tasty. Yeah. So anything from them.
That sounds divine.
I love
And I just, well, since you brought up fermented, some people, myself included, I have a little bit of a tricky time with some fermented food. So Holozyme really helps me deal with, and so then I'm getting all that good fiber in, I'm getting all that fermented food in my body, but I can digest it better. I don't get kind of pregnant belly from it if I use my Holozyme with it. So I'm going to have to check them out. That sounds really amazing. So what is next for Healthy Gut? What products are you saying yes to?
There's so many. Actually, I would love feedback. We're probably going to do another round of asking the people who use our products already what else would be helpful for you, because we know that people are trying to buy a lot of other things. But Stephen right now, he's got some stuff around some fish oils and some longevity things. So, we joke around about how when I met him, I thought he was 7 years older. He thought I was 7 years younger, and we were both wrong. So you can do the math on that. So he is always looking for longevity things right now. So I think some of our next products will be centered around longevity.
Oh, that's really exciting. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. So if you weren't the COO of Healthy Gut, what would you be doing?
I think if I was to wave my magic wand, I love writing, speaking, and producing content around health advocacy and storytelling.
I love it. Yeah, I dove down the rabbit hole a little bit, researching you a little bit before we met because I didn't know you before. I had only known my sales rep and then Steven through some education. So I saw some of your coverage on health. And folks, if you have a chance to look up Shay's work, it's really, really brilliant. I think you were ahead of your time for sure. You were
Thank
doing that. So, okay, my final question is kind of a fun one. You're stuck on a deserted island, but lucky you, you get to pack an apothecary. What 3 to 5 products or supplements are you bringing and why?
Yeah. So you already know I can't live without my HoloImmune, because if I'm
Yeah.
on a desert island, I need my 20-year-old brain to survive. Tributyrin-X for sure. Holozyme, because I'm going to have to eat, I don't know, bark or whatever I'm eating. And then I would probably, this is such a basic one, but magnesium, because sleep and
Oh, yeah.
food. I think that's super important. And then this is not actually an apothecary thing, but assuming that I've got my generator, I have a way I would bring a red light.
Yes.
Everything from the vanity reasons, it makes you look better, but it just does so many healing things for our body.
Love that. Yeah. I know. I love that people branch outside of my box of apothecary items because I had one guest say that she would not come without her lotion, her favorite lotion. It was great. Oh my goodness. So Shay, did we miss anything that you want to talk about? Is there anything else you want to cover before we close today?
I am always open to talk about bioidentical hormones and cancer, and happy to come back and discuss that. And Stephen is always happy to come back and talk about the science of low stomach acid and how it impacts women.
That would be awesome. And how can people find you and Healthy Gut?
You can always reach me at forherhealth@healthygut.com. And I also have an Instagram, social media. I'm not real active on there right now, but that's about to change. That is For Her Health.
Okay, great. And then you can get your Holozyme, Tributyrin-X, your HoloImmune directly from Optimal Health's website. So that's www.ohm406.com. You can also order it directly from Healthy Gut if you'd like. We'll put the code in the show notes so that you will get a little discount. And then that does help support the podcast so we can get stuff to more people. So thank you so much for joining us today. And if this episode made you wonder why why you've never contemplated the mucin layer, made you think about eating a bowl of fiber, or had you hopping onto my website to grab your first bottle of Holozyme, please share it with a friend, subscribe, and leave us a review. Thank you, Shay, for joining me today on the Menopause Midwife. Be well.
Thank you for joining me here today on the Menopause Midwife. If you'd like more information or to work with me, feel free to check out my website and book a wellness consultation at ohm406.com. Be well.